On a routine international flight from London to New York, the cabin buzzes with the excited chatter of passengers settling into their seats. Among them, a black man, sharply dressed in a tailored suit, sits quietly, a picture of calm amidst the chaos. He is not just any passenger. He is one of the UK's top investors, a man whose presence commands respect, even if few around him are aware of it. To the casual observer, he appears as a mere traveller, just another face in the crowd. Now, if you're enjoying this tale, do give it a cheeky thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to know where you're watching from, so do drop a comment below. Stick around until the end, as what unfolds next will certainly leave you gobsmacked. Across the aisle, a flight attendant moves about with a haughty air, her posture rigid and her expression cold. She carries with her a bias that seeps into her interactions. As she approaches the man to serve drinks, her eyes narrow slightly, a flicker of judgment crossing her face. She clutches a tray filled with beverages, including a bright orange juice that seems to glow against the muted tones of the cabin. As she leans down to pour his drink, her hand suddenly jerks, and juice splashes all over him, soaking his crisp white shirt and tailored trousers. The cabin falls silent for a split second, the incident hanging in the air like a bad smell. The flight attendant's expression morphs from surprise to disdain, her cheeks tinged with embarrassment, but mostly irritation. She offers a half-hearted apology, her voice dripping with insincerity as she mutters, "I didn't mean to do that." Passengers nearby exchange glances, some stifling laughs, while others shift uncomfortably in their seats. The man's composure remains unshaken, but there is a flicker of anger behind his calm exterior. The atmosphere thickens with tension as murmurs ripple through the cabin. The flight attendant tries to brush it off, yet her arrogance lingers like the stain on the man's shirt. He stands up slowly, a deliberate move that commands attention. The cabin's energy shifts, and all eyes are on him as he locks his gaze onto hers. The flight attendant's confident facade begins to crack, her posture stiffening in anxiety as she realizes that her actions have consequences beyond a simple spill. "What's the matter?" he asks, his voice steady but low, a calm beneath the storm. The other passengers, sensing the shift in dynamics, lean in, curious about what will unfold next. They are used to seeing the flight attendants in charge, but the power dynamic is about to change. "Do you always treat your passengers this way?" he continues, his tone now sharper. Gasps echo through the cabin as he steps closer, eyes unwavering, filled with an intensity that draws everyone in. The tension is palpable. This is not a mere accident anymore. This is a confrontation, a challenge to the prejudices that have no place on this flight. As he prepares to reveal his true identity, the entire cabin seems to hold its breath. Who is this man really, and what will happen when the truth comes out? The mystery deepens, leaving the audience hanging on the edge of their seats, anticipating a revelation that could shake the very foundation of their assumptions. As the flight hums along at cruising altitude, the atmosphere within the cabin is thick with tension. Passengers attempt to resume their conversations, but the incident with the juice has created a palpable unease. The flight attendant, now nervously fidgeting with her service tray, avoids eye contact with the man she humiliated. Meanwhile, the other passengers are increasingly curious about the well-dressed man whose composure has not faltered, even in the face of such blatant disrespect. He sits back down, taking a moment to collect himself. His name is Marcus Wellington, a name that resonates within the financial circles of London but means little to the average passenger. A self-made millionaire, Marcus has worked tirelessly to climb the corporate ladder, starting from humble beginnings in South London. His mother, a nurse, instilled in him the values of hard work and resilience, while his father, a local businessman, taught him the intricacies of financial acumen. Every achievement, every dollar earned, was a testament to his relentless pursuit of success against the odds. In contrast, the flight attendant Chloe is a product of privilege, having grown up in the affluent suburbs of Surrey. She attended one of the best private schools in the country and has always felt a sense of entitlement that comes with her background. Working as a flight attendant, she often looks down on those she perceives as beneath her, particularly those who don't fit her idea of sophistication. This bias has become her blind spot, influencing her interactions with passengers. As the flight progresses, the other passengers whisper among themselves, some chuckling at the unfolding drama, while others sympathize with Marcus, aware of the unfairness of Chloe's actions. Marcus's calm demeanor fascinates them. He carries himself with an air of dignity that sets him apart. They can't help but wonder who he is, and the whispers grow louder, curiosity spilling over into open speculation. "Did you see how she treated him?" A middle-aged woman remarks to her husband, her voice barely above a whisper. "Absolutely appalling. He deserves an apology. No, more than that." Marcus overhears snippets of conversation, and though he feels a surge of irritation at the flight attendant's behavior, he remains composed. He is used to the spotlight, but this isn't a situation he relishes. He simply wants to travel without incident. The irony is not lost on him. He's on his way to a business conference in New York, ready to discuss investments and partnerships, yet here he is, embroiled in an uncomfortable situation that could easily have been avoided. Suddenly, the pilot's voice crackles over the intercom, breaking the tension. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are flying over the Atlantic now, and we expect clear skies for the remainder of our journey. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the service." The announcement offers a brief respite, but the tension lingers in the air. Chloe approaches with a forced smile, attempting to mend the situation. "I really am sorry about the juice. Let me get you a fresh drink," she offers, her tone more apologetic now, though her underlying bias remains unacknowledged. It's clear to Marcus that she doesn't grasp the gravity of her actions. "Thank you, but I'd rather have a proper conversation," Marcus replies, his voice steady but firm. He leans slightly closer, lowering his voice to a confidential whisper. "You see, this isn't just about spilled juice. It's about respect." The surrounding passengers are now fully engaged, leaning in to catch every word. Marcus's presence transforms the atmosphere. The cabin feels charged with energy as they anticipate what he might say next. Chloe shifts uncomfortably, the color draining from her face as she senses the stakes rising. Marcus continues, his voice calm yet commanding. "I understand that the pressures of this job can be overwhelming, but it's vital to treat every passenger with dignity, regardless of their appearance or background." He pauses for effect, allowing the weight of his words to settle. Chloe's facade begins to crumble under the scrutiny of the passengers and the intensity of Marcus's gaze. Her entitlement, once her shield, now feels like a burden. She nods, struggling to maintain her composure, but her mind races as she realizes the ramifications of her actions. The other passengers, sensing the shift, feel a collective camaraderie with Marcus. They, too, have experienced moments where their worth was questioned or disregarded based on superficial judgments. As Marcus stands his ground, they can't help but root for him, eager to see how this confrontation unfolds. As the flight progresses, the atmosphere is thick with an unresolved tension that hangs like a fog in the cabin. Marcus Wellington, poised in his business attire, has captured the attention of his fellow passengers and even the flight crew. The juxtaposition between his dignified presence and Chloe's earlier disrespectful action forms a stark backdrop for the unfolding drama. With Chloe now attempting to regain her composure, she brings a complimentary drink to Marcus, a half-hearted gesture that feels inadequate to rectify the situation. "Here you go, sir," she says, avoiding eye contact as she places the drink in front of him. But Marcus isn't in the mood for half measures. He accepts the drink with a slight nod, but makes it clear that he's not ready to let the matter rest. "Chloe, isn't it?" he asks, maintaining an even tone that conceals the simmering frustration beneath. "What you did earlier was more than an accident. It was an expression of bias. You may not realize it, but your actions have consequences." His calm yet assertive approach catches her off guard, making her acutely aware of the power dynamics at play. Around them, other passengers lean in, eager to witness how this confrontation will unfold. A young woman in the aisle seat, trying to suppress a grin, whispers to her friend, "This is like a scene from a movie." The excitement ripples through the cabin as whispers of support for Marcus begin to spread. His refusal to back down is inspiring. He's not just standing up for himself, but for everyone who has faced discrimination. Chloe feels the weight of their gazes, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. She stumbles over her words, trying to deflect the situation. "I didn't mean to offend. It was just a mistake," she stammers, but her excuses ring hollow in the face of the growing solidarity around Marcus. Marcus shakes his head, not allowing her to dismiss the issue. "It's not just about the juice, Chloe. It's about the way you perceived me before any words were exchanged. What you see is a man dressed in a suit, but that doesn't define my worth." He gestures towards the other passengers. "You may think I'm just another traveler, but everyone here has a story, and we all deserve to be treated with respect." A middle-aged businessman seated across the aisle nods vigorously. "Exactly. It's about time someone calls out this kind of behavior." Encouraged by Marcus's words, other passengers join in, murmuring their agreement. The flight attendants, now drawn into the fray, watch hesitantly from a distance, unsure whether to intervene or let the conversation unfold. Realizing that her facade is crumbling, Chloe's posture shifts, betraying her discomfort. She attempts to shift the narrative, trying to regain some semblance of control. "I never meant to imply anything negative. I've had a long day and—" she begins, but Marcus cuts her off, refusing to let her hide behind excuses. "Everyone has long days, Chloe. That's part of being human," he responds, his tone firm yet measured. "But what separates us is how we choose to treat one another in those moments of pressure." His calmness in the face of her defensiveness is a stark contrast, and it serves to amplify the significance of the discussion unfolding before the other passengers. As the conversation continues, it becomes clear that Chloe's actions are emblematic of a larger issue, a pervasive attitude of superiority among those in service roles. Passengers begin to share their own experiences, each story adding layers to the unfolding conflict. A young man recounts a time he was overlooked for a promotion in his job, purely based on his appearance. An elderly lady recalls a time she was dismissed at a restaurant for not fitting the stereotype of a high-paying customer. The momentum builds, transforming what began as a personal confrontation into a broader discussion about respect and dignity. Marcus finds himself leading this impromptu dialogue, his eloquence and authenticity resonating deeply with those around him. He highlights the importance of understanding, especially in service-oriented industries, where employees often interact with a diverse clientele. Chloe, realizing that the tide has turned against her, attempts to salvage the situation with a forced smile. "I see your point, but—" she starts again. But Marcus is having none of it. "It's not just about seeing the point, Chloe. It's about feeling it, understanding the impact of your actions. A genuine apology would mean more than mere words. It requires a willingness to acknowledge the hurt caused," he says, looking straight into her eyes, unwavering. The passengers around them nod in agreement, and Chloe begins to understand the depth of her error. Feeling the weight of her actions bearing down, Chloe finally meets Marcus's gaze, her expression shifting from defensive to contemplative. "I'm sorry," she murmurs, the sincerity in her voice revealing a glimpse of vulnerability. "I truly didn't mean to treat you or anyone else that way. It was thoughtless." This moment marks a turning point, not only for Marcus but for Chloe as well. The shift in her tone signals a possible pathway to understanding and redemption. Passengers shift in their seats, intrigued to see how the rest of this confrontation will unfold. Chloe's acceptance of her mistake lays the groundwork for a conversation about growth, empathy, and respect. With the air of conflict still palpable, the flight continues on its journey, yet the repercussions of the confrontation between Marcus and Chloe ripple through the cabin like a storm gathering strength. As they ascend to cruising altitude, other passengers find themselves drawn into the unfolding drama, their own stories interweaving with the main narrative. This moment, originally sparked by a spilled drink, has transformed into a microcosm of societal issues that many have faced, highlighting the importance of understanding and compassion in everyday interactions. Among the passengers is Angela, a young mother traveling with her toddler who has been quietly observing the exchange. She feels a swell of solidarity with Marcus. Her own experiences of being judged and underestimated resonate deeply with his words. While Chloe's actions are more overt, Angela's struggles have often been more subtle, marked by the quiet dismissals and assumptions that come with being a woman and a parent. Watching Marcus speak out gives her courage, igniting a desire to share her own story. "Excuse me," Angela interrupts, her voice shaking slightly as she gains the courage to speak. "I know this isn't quite the same, but I have felt similar prejudices. I've been told I'm too young to be a mother, that I shouldn't be allowed to bring my child on a plane because it might disturb others." She gestures toward her little boy, who is innocently munching on a snack. It's as if people forget that we're all human, deserving of respect. The moment she finishes speaking, murmurs of agreement ripple through the cabin. Chloe, still visibly shaken from her earlier confrontation, can only listen as the floodgates open. Angela's willingness to share her experience prompts other passengers to join in, creating a cascade of personal stories. An elderly gentleman named Harold, seated at the back of the plane, leans forward in his seat. "I can relate to that. I'm often dismissed as being too old to understand technology, yet I run my own tech business. People forget that age doesn't define capability." His voice carries a steady cadence, evoking nods and whispers of agreement from those around him. Marcus watches as this sense of community builds, feeling an unexpected warmth wash over him. It becomes clear that this flight is transforming into something much more significant than just a means of transport. It's becoming a forum for shared experiences and collective resilience. Chloe, meanwhile, sits in her seat, a mix of regret and realization flooding her thoughts. She had thought of herself as merely doing her job, but witnessing the vulnerability and courage of others stirs something within her. I didn't know," she finally manages to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've always seen my role as serving people, but I never considered how my actions could affect someone's dignity." As the plane reaches cruising altitude, the flight attendants, including Chloe, are prompted to serve refreshments. Chloe's earlier lack of professionalism is starkly contrasted by the attentiveness she now exhibits, offering drinks with genuine care rather than indifference. As she approaches Marcus, she pauses, knowing that she must do more than just apologize. "Would you like something to drink, Mr. Wellington? And I truly am sorry for how I treated you earlier. I want to learn from this," she says, her voice earnest. Marcus can sense her sincerity, and for the first time, he sees a glimmer of potential in her for change. "I appreciate that, Chloe," he replies, keeping his tone steady. "We all make mistakes. It's how we learn and grow from them that truly matters." This moment of connection becomes pivotal, not just for Chloe, but for everyone witnessing it. The atmosphere in the cabin shifts. The tension that once threatened to divide the passengers now serves to unite them in a shared human experience. They are all just people, battling their own biases and assumptions. Conversations flow freely as passengers begin to bond over their shared struggles, exchanging stories that resonate deeply, from experiences of discrimination to feelings of inadequacy in various aspects of life. A couple of rows back, a young man named Daniel speaks up, recounting a time when he was denied a job because of his ethnicity. His story strikes a chord, and soon everyone is engaged in meaningful dialogue about the importance of empathy and understanding. Meanwhile, Chloe observes this transformation with newfound insight. It dawns on her that the incident, while uncomfortable, has provided an invaluable lesson in humility and growth. She decides that this moment will not only be a turning point in her relationship with Marcus, but also a catalyst for her own personal development. As the cabin crew serves refreshments, Chloe makes a conscious effort to engage positively with all the passengers, showing respect and appreciation for their individuality. The smiles she receives in return begin to chip away at her earlier insecurities, illuminating her path toward genuine connection. As the flight progresses, what began as a single act of discrimination has evolved into a rich tapestry of stories woven together by common threads of struggle, resilience, and hope. Marcus, feeling empowered by the community that has formed, considers how he can continue to advocate for equality and respect beyond this flight. As the flight continues its journey across the skies, a palpable tension simmers beneath the surface, gradually evolving into something more profound. The atmosphere of camaraderie has blossomed among the passengers, yet a sense of unease lingers, especially for Chloe. She feels a pressing need to reconcile her earlier behavior with the newfound awareness sparked by the collective stories shared on board. The moment of truth arrives unexpectedly when turbulence shakes the aircraft, throwing everyone into a state of heightened alert. The plane jolts violently and gasps echo through the cabin. Passengers grip their armrests while a few visibly panic. Chloe, despite her recent reflections, instinctively moves to check on Marcus, her heart racing as she approaches him. "Are you all right, Mr. Wellington?" she asks, concern etching her features. Marcus looks at her, his expression a mix of calm and determination. "I'm fine, thank you, but we need to stay composed. Everyone is watching us." His words resonate with a truth that cuts through the chaos. He stands to reassure the surrounding passengers, his voice steady and authoritative. "It's just a bit of turbulence, nothing we can't handle. Let's breathe and stay focused." As he speaks, Marcus taps into an inner strength, one that has been forged through years of overcoming adversity. His confidence is infectious, and soon the tension in the cabin begins to ease. The passengers' collective breath steadies, and Chloe watches in awe as he commands the room with grace and empathy. The experience serves as a turning point for her. Marcus is not just a victim of her earlier actions. He embodies the resilience and strength she has only begun to understand. When the turbulence subsides, an unexpected announcement crackles over the intercom. The captain's voice is calm but laced with urgency. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've encountered some unexpected weather patterns ahead. We will be altering our course slightly, but rest assured, we will keep you updated on any developments." Chloe exchanges glances with Marcus, realizing that this could be more than just a temporary inconvenience. The change in course suggests that they might be flying into more turbulent skies ahead, both literally and metaphorically. The weight of the moment isn't lost on her. She knows that the ensuing discussions among the passengers will be crucial in the face of this uncertainty. "Mr. Wellington, we need to ensure everyone feels safe," she says, determination filling her voice. "You have a way of bringing people together. Can you help me talk to them?" Marcus nods, a sense of purpose igniting within him. "Absolutely. Let's remind everyone that we're in this together." They walk to the front of the cabin, where Chloe takes a deep breath and prepares to address the passengers. "Ladies and gentlemen," she begins, her voice steady but warm. "I know this flight has not gone as planned, and I want to thank you for your understanding during the turbulence and the earlier incident." She gestures toward Marcus. "This is Mr. Wellington, a remarkable individual who has reminded us of the importance of kindness and community. Together, we can navigate whatever challenges lie ahead." The room falls silent, eyes turning towards Marcus, who steps forward to speak. "Thank you, Chloe. I appreciate your honesty and openness. As we face these challenges, I want each of you to know that your stories matter. It's easy to forget our shared humanity, especially in moments of stress. But right now, we have a chance to uplift one another. Let's share our experiences, our laughter, and our resilience." The mood shifts dramatically as passengers begin to nod, visibly reassured by Marcus's words. One by one, they share anecdotes, stories of struggle, triumph, and even humor in the face of adversity. Chloe watches, her heart swelling with pride as the cabin transforms into a space of shared vulnerability. The turbulence outside becomes a metaphor for the personal storms each passenger has weathered, but here they are united in their strength. Amidst the exchanges, a middle-aged woman named Sarah speaks up, recounting her own experience with discrimination at work. "I was overlooked for a promotion simply because of my age," she says, her voice tinged with emotion. "I fought for what I deserved, but it took a toll on my self-esteem. I wish I had known then that I wasn't alone." The stories continue to flow, weaving a rich tapestry of experiences that highlight the diverse backgrounds and struggles present in the cabin. Marcus and Chloe facilitate the conversations, guiding the passengers to find common ground and encouraging them to support one another. As the hour passes, the flight takes on a new energy, a sense of hope that rises above the fear of what lies ahead. In this microcosm of society, the passengers have formed an unbreakable bond, united not only by their shared experiences, but also by their willingness to confront difficult truths. Then, just as the mood begins to solidify into a warm camaraderie, the plane jolts again, this time more severely. Gasps echo through the cabin, and Chloe instinctively reaches for Marcus's hand, their earlier connection deepening in the face of uncertainty. This moment, teetering on the edge of chaos, has become an embodiment of everything they've discussed. How they choose to respond to adversity defines who they are. "Stay calm, everyone," Marcus calls out, squeezing Chloe's hand tightly as he takes charge once more. "We've been through worse, and we'll get through this together." His voice carries confidence, and the passengers rally around his leadership, a collective determination forging through the unease. Chloe, filled with admiration for Marcus, knows they are on the brink of something extraordinary. The flight may be tumultuous, but the connections formed in this cabin will last long beyond the plane's arrival. As the plane settles into a steadier flight path, the atmosphere inside the cabin is a stark contrast to the tension that preceded it. Passengers, now engaged and connected, find comfort in the sense of community that has blossomed among them. However, the earlier turbulence hasn't just been a physical experience. It has sent ripples through the relationships aboard, particularly for Chloe and Marcus. Chloe sits beside Marcus, both reflecting on the powerful interactions they've just facilitated. The stories shared have not only opened hearts but also highlighted the uncomfortable realities of their own lives. In that moment, Chloe is faced with the undeniable truth that her previous actions have consequences far beyond the immediate embarrassment they caused. The realization dawns on her that her role as a flight attendant holds a greater responsibility, especially in moments that can define or destroy human dignity. "Thank you for being so supportive back there," Chloe says to Marcus, her voice earnest. "I realize now how important it is to stand up for each other, no matter the circumstances. I wish I could take back what happened before." Marcus turns to her, his expression softening. "Chloe, it's okay. What matters is how you choose to move forward from this. You're learning, and that's what counts." His reassurance is warm, but it also serves as a reminder of the deep-rooted issues they've both been navigating. The flight progresses, and the group of passengers continues to share stories, but the camaraderie they've fostered isn't without its complexities. Chloe observes a woman named Rebecca, seated a few rows ahead, who seems quieter than the others. She catches snippets of Rebecca's earlier conversation about her struggles with feeling invisible in her job, a narrative that resonates deeply within Chloe. Feeling compelled to reach out, Chloe stands and approaches Rebecca. "Hey, I noticed you've been a bit quiet. If you feel comfortable sharing, we'd all love to hear your story." Rebecca glances up, surprise evident on her face. "Oh, I didn't want to interrupt the flow. Everyone seems to have such powerful stories." Her voice trembles slightly, revealing her vulnerability. "But your story is just as important," Chloe insists. "We're here for each other, remember?" With encouragement, Rebecca takes a deep breath and begins to share her own experiences of feeling overlooked in her workplace, a corporate environment that seems to favor the loudest voices, leaving her feeling muted and dismissed. As she speaks, Chloe watches the empathy grow in the eyes of her fellow passengers, who nod and whisper words of encouragement. However, amid the supportive atmosphere, there's a lingering tension between Chloe and a few of the older passengers who still carry their biases close to heart. One man, who had been particularly vocal during the flight, mutters under his breath as Rebecca speaks. Shouldn't they just get over it? Everyone has their struggles. Aye, the comment stings, and Marcus hears it too. He stands, the determination etched on his face. "Excuse me, sir," he says, his tone firm but respectful. "If you're finding it difficult to understand the weight of these experiences, perhaps you should consider that every person in this cabin has a story that deserves to be heard." Chloe admires Marcus's bravery. It's not just about standing up for Rebecca. It's a stand against the discrimination and dismissiveness that has plagued so many people for far too long. The man falls silent, his expression shifting from annoyance to contemplation, while the other passengers rally around Marcus's words, emboldened by the shared understanding they've cultivated. With the tension rising and the atmosphere thickening, the cabin crew begins to serve refreshments, but the earlier incident remains a shadow over the proceedings. Chloe watches as the juice cart rolls toward her, anxiety creeping back in. She glances at Marcus, who gives her an encouraging nod. The cart arrives, and Chloe takes a deep breath, determined to avoid repeating her earlier mistake. "Would anyone like a drink?" she asks, her voice steady as she moves through the rows. Just as she serves a cup of juice to a passenger, a sudden jolt causes her to lose her balance. Time seems to slow as the cup tips, the bright liquid splashing against Rebecca's lap. Gasps ripple through the cabin, but instead of horror, there's an unexpected silence as Chloe freezes, her heart pounding in her chest. "Oh no, not again!" Chloe exclaims, panic rising in her throat. She kneels beside Rebecca, frantically searching for napkins. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." "Chloe, it's all right," Rebecca says, surprisingly calm, her eyes twinkling with mischief. At least this time it wasn't intentional. The light-heartedness of her response catches Chloe off guard, but it also diffuses the tension that had threatened to consume the moment. Laughter erupts from the passengers, breaking the ice that had formed in the aftermath of the earlier incident. Chloe looks up at Marcus, relief flooding through her. "I'm so grateful for your support, Marcus. I think I needed this, an opportunity to truly connect and learn from my mistakes." "That's the beauty of our shared experiences," Marcus replies, smiling. "It's about growth and moving forward together." The laughter in the cabin lingers as the conversations continue, with each passenger sharing more stories, navigating the complexities of their lives with a newfound understanding. Chloe knows the flight is far from over, but the connections forged here today are stronger than the barriers that once separated them. The plane continues its journey through the skies, the hum of the engines now a comforting backdrop to the unfolding drama among the passengers. Chloe, feeling invigorated by the earlier exchange, finds herself reflecting on the transformative power of shared stories. Each tale shared within the cabin has contributed to a tapestry of connection and understanding, illuminating the often unseen struggles that reside within each individual. As the passengers bond over their experiences, Chloe senses an urgency to push her own boundaries and confront her past actions. She sits down beside Marcus, her mind racing with thoughts about the systemic issues that have shaped their society. "You know, Marcus," she begins hesitantly, "I've been thinking a lot about what happened earlier. I've always been taught to be polite and serve everyone equally, but I never truly understood the weight of my actions until today." Marcus nods thoughtfully. "That's a significant realization, Chloe. It's not just about being polite, it's about being aware of how our actions affect those around us. This experience has shown us all that, hasn't it?" "Yes. But it's more than that," she insists. "I want to do better. I want to use my position to foster inclusivity and make sure that everyone feels valued, not just a customer to serve." "Now you're talking," Marcus beams, clearly impressed. It's all about recognizing that we have the power to create change, no matter how small our actions might seem. You've taken the first step by acknowledging your past mistakes. That's how growth begins. As the flight progresses, the conversations amongst the passengers continue to flourish. But there's one person in particular that Chloe cannot stop thinking about: Rebecca. Despite the laughter and the growing camaraderie, she's aware that Rebecca's initial reluctance to share her story still lingers. With a newfound sense of purpose, Chloe decides to approach her again. "Rebecca, do you mind if I join you?" Chloe asks, smiling warmly as she approaches her seat. "Not at all," Rebecca replies, her tone welcoming. "I was just thinking about how today has turned out. It's quite something, isn't it?" "It really is," Chloe agrees, taking a seat beside her. "I just wanted to check in with you after, well, everything. I appreciate how you handled the juice incident earlier. It showed a lot of strength." Rebecca shrugs, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "We all make mistakes, right? It's how we respond that counts. Besides, I think I've had enough juice spills for one day." Chloe laughs, and in that moment the atmosphere between them shifts. "Can I be honest? I've always felt like I was in a bubble, surrounded by expectations. I'm trying to break out of it and be more aware of the world around me. Your story resonated with me because it's like a mirror reflecting my own struggles." "I get that," Rebecca replies, her expression softening. "It's easy to get caught up in our own lives and forget that others are fighting battles we know nothing about. I've felt invisible for so long, but today has made me realize that my voice matters." "That's the spirit," Chloe exclaims, her excitement palpable. "Maybe we can find ways to support each other moving forward. I'd love to help elevate your voice, whether it's through my job or in any other way I can." Rebecca's eyes widen, and for the first time Chloe sees a glimmer of hope reflected in her gaze. "You really mean that? I'd love to connect more and share our stories with others. Perhaps we could even start a blog or a project together to inspire others who might be in similar situations." "That's a brilliant idea," Chloe responds, her enthusiasm growing. "Imagine the impact we could have, and it would keep us accountable to our goals of fostering inclusivity." As they discuss their vision, Chloe feels a rush of adrenaline. She knows that she's stepping into uncharted territory, but the prospect of using her platform to advocate for others fills her with purpose. Meanwhile, Marcus observes the exchange from a distance, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. He approaches them, eager to join in. "I couldn't help but overhear. You two are onto something fantastic. We need more voices advocating for change." Chloe turns to him, her expression animated. "We're thinking of starting a project to help elevate overlooked voices. Would you be interested in collaborating with us?" "Absolutely," Marcus replies without hesitation. "I've been wanting to channel my energy into something meaningful, and this sounds like the perfect opportunity. Let's make it happen." With newfound momentum, the three begin to outline their ideas, brainstorming how they can reach out to their respective communities and create a ripple effect of change. The plane, once a mere mode of transport, has transformed into a creative space where dreams are being crafted and connections forged. As they bounce ideas off each other, the atmosphere inside the cabin is electric with possibility. Fellow passengers watch in intrigue, some even offering their input, sharing their own stories of adversity and resilience. It's a beautiful tapestry of humanity, each thread weaving into the next to create a more profound understanding of their collective experiences. At that moment, Chloe understands that she's no longer just a flight attendant. She's become an advocate for change. The journey she's embarked on is just beginning, and she feels an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the lessons she's learned on this flight. It's a reminder that growth often comes from the most unexpected places, and that it's never too late to stand up, speak out, and uplift those around us. As the flight continues, the mood in the cabin transforms from one of tension and unease to a vibrant atmosphere of unity and hope. The conversations flow freely, laughter fills the air, and there's an undeniable sense of camaraderie among the passengers. They've become more than just strangers sharing a space. They are a collective, each contributing to a larger narrative of resilience and change. Chloe, Marcus, and Rebecca are particularly engaged, their energy infectious. They've formed a plan to utilize their experiences to advocate for inclusivity and to support those whose voices are often drowned out by societal expectations. The three of them decide to create a community platform where stories can be shared and heard, allowing others to connect and find strength in each other's journeys. In the midst of their brainstorming, Chloe decides it's time to address the elephant in the room, the flight attendant who spilled juice on Marcus. We can't overlook the fact that this all started with a moment of ignorance. I think it's important to speak to our crew about what happened and share the lessons we've learned today. Marcus nods, his expression serious. You're right, Chloe. We should approach the head of the crew and offer to have a conversation. If we want to create change, we have to include everyone in the dialogue, even those who might not initially see the impact of their actions. Rebecca adds, it might be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Change doesn't happen in a bubble. We need to show that we're all on the same journey, trying to understand and support one another. With a shared determination, the trio devises a plan to speak with the lead flight attendant after the meal service. They aim to approach the situation with empathy rather than confrontation, recognizing that the path to understanding often begins with an open dialogue. As they wrap up their discussion, the plane hits a bit of turbulence, shaking the passengers slightly in their seats. The sudden jolt is a reminder of the unpredictability of the journey they're all on, both in the air and in life. Chloe's heart races momentarily, but she feels a renewed sense of purpose. She grips the armrest and takes a deep breath, focusing on the mission ahead. The turbulence passes, but it leaves behind an air of anticipation, as if the plane is signaling that significant changes are about to occur. As the flight attendants begin their meal service, Chloe and her team prepare to approach their colleagues. They wait until the last passenger has been served, and the atmosphere settles into a calm once more. Finally, as the crew gathers for a moment of respite, Chloe steps forward, gathering her courage. "Excuse me, everyone," she begins, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I'd like to share something that has come up during this flight." The flight attendants turn their attention to her, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. Earlier today, there was an incident that deeply affected one of our passengers. It was a moment of misunderstanding, but it opened up a larger conversation about the importance of inclusivity and awareness in our roles. She glances at Marcus and Rebecca, who are standing beside her, their supportive presence giving her strength. "We're not here to point fingers. Instead, we want to discuss how we can all learn from this experience. There are so many perspectives that often go unheard, and we believe that by sharing our stories, we can foster a more inclusive environment for everyone, staff and passengers alike." A hush falls over the group, and Chloe can see the impact of her words sinking in. We've been brainstorming ways to create a platform for these conversations where everyone can feel safe and valued. We believe that change starts with us, right here in this cabin. One of the flight attendants, a seasoned professional named Julia, steps forward. "I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, Chloe. It's easy to forget that our actions can have lasting impacts on those around us. I'd be open to discussing this further and seeing how we can incorporate these lessons into our training." Chloe beams, relieved by the positive response. "Thank you, Julia. That means a lot. We all have a role to play in making our environment more inclusive." As the other flight attendants nod in agreement, Chloe can feel the atmosphere shift again, this time towards something more profound. The turbulence of earlier has transformed into a momentum that feels almost electric. Passengers who have been listening in begin to express their thoughts, sharing their own experiences of feeling overlooked or judged. Marcus takes a step forward, his voice resonating with passion. We're all part of this community, and by recognizing our biases and working together, we can make a real difference. It starts with conversations like these. The group continues to share stories, their voices rising in unison, creating a chorus of understanding and solidarity. Chloe's heart swells with pride as she watches the transformation unfold around her. This was not just a flight, it was a catalyst for change. As they discuss their vision for the future, Chloe feels a sense of belonging wash over her. She knows this moment is pivotal, a turning point not only for her but for everyone involved. They are no longer just passengers and crew, they are allies in a shared journey toward greater awareness and inclusivity. As the flight reaches its cruising altitude, the atmosphere in the cabin feels charged with a newfound energy. Passengers who had previously been silent are now engaged in animated discussions, their voices echoing across the aisles. Chloe, Marcus, and Rebecca can hardly believe the shift that has occurred. What began as a moment of discomfort has blossomed into a movement of solidarity. In the midst of this burgeoning unity, the head flight attendant, Julia, gathers the crew for a brief meeting. She stands at the front of the cabin, her expression serious yet determined. "Ladies and gentlemen," she begins, her voice steady but warm, "I'd like to address the incident that occurred earlier. It's important for us to learn from this experience and to ensure that our actions reflect the values of respect and inclusivity we aim to uphold as a team." Marcus leans forward in his seat, his heart racing with anticipation. He knows that this moment could be pivotal, not just for him, but for everyone on the flight. The crew's willingness to engage in this conversation is a sign that change is not only possible, but already underway. "Today we have a unique opportunity to engage with our passengers," Julia continues. "I'd like to invite those who have been affected by the incident to share their thoughts and experiences. Your voices matter, and we want to hear from you." Chloe exchanges a glance with Marcus and Rebecca, each of them silently agreeing that this is their moment to speak up. With a collective nod, they stand and make their way to the front of the cabin. As they walk, the murmurs of the other passengers fade into silence, all eyes on the trio as they prepare to share their truth. "Thank you for giving us this opportunity," Chloe starts, her voice steady despite the nerves coursing through her. "Earlier today, an unfortunate incident occurred that affected one of our fellow passengers, Marcus. It highlighted an important issue about how we treat one another, especially in spaces that should feel safe." She glances at Marcus, who stands beside her, his demeanor calm but his eyes shining with determination. What happened today is a reflection of something much larger than just a spilled drink. It's about the biases and assumptions that can manifest in everyday interactions, often without us even realizing it. It's crucial that we acknowledge these biases if we want to foster a truly inclusive environment. The cabin is silent, the weight of their words hanging in the air. A few passengers nod in agreement, while others lean forward, eager to listen. Julia's expression is one of support as she encourages them to continue. Marcus steps forward, his voice carrying a mix of passion and vulnerability. "I'm not here to blame anyone, but to share my experience. I'm sure many of you can relate to feeling judged or overlooked because of your appearance. It's not just about what happened to me today, but about the countless moments where individuals are treated differently based on their race, gender, or background." As he speaks, Marcus can see the impact of his words resonating within the cabin. He notices a few heads nodding, expressions of empathy on the faces of fellow passengers. This is not just his story, it's a collective experience that many can relate to, and he feels empowered to share it. Chloe interjects, "We all have a role in creating an environment where everyone feels valued. We need to actively listen to one another and be willing to learn. Today is just the beginning of that conversation." Just as she finishes speaking, the aircraft experiences a sudden jolt, turbulence shaking the cabin. A few gasps are heard, and the flight attendants spring into action, ensuring everyone is secure. In that moment of chaos, the crew's professionalism shines through, showcasing their commitment to passenger safety and comfort. Once the turbulence subsides, Julia addresses the cabin again, her voice steady. "Thank you for your patience, everyone. Let's use this moment as a reminder of the importance of unity and support. We're all in this together." As the plane stabilizes, Chloe and Marcus take a deep breath, grateful for the moment of connection they've created. They look around the cabin, seeing a palpable shift in energy. Passengers who were once strangers now share smiles and knowing nods, united by the shared understanding of their humanity. Chloe continues, "We're not just advocating for change today, we're inviting all of you to join us. Let's create a culture where everyone feels comfortable sharing their stories, where we can learn from each other's experiences, and where diversity is celebrated." A ripple of applause begins, first hesitantly, then growing in confidence until it fills the cabin. The passengers are inspired, ready to engage in this dialogue. Chloe's heart swells with emotion. They are not just having a conversation, but igniting a movement. Julia encourages further discussion, inviting passengers to share their stories if they feel comfortable. One by one, hands begin to raise, each voice adding to the tapestry of shared experiences. A woman speaks about her struggles as a minority in the workplace, while a man shares his experiences growing up in a neighborhood that felt hostile. Each story is met with understanding and compassion, reinforcing the sense of community that has formed in the cabin. As Marcus listens to the stories being shared, he feels a wave of hope wash over him. This is the power of dialogue. It fosters empathy, understanding, and ultimately change. He knows that this moment will linger long after the flight lands. Finally, as the conversation winds down, Julia addresses the group once more. "Thank you all for your honesty and courage today. We will take this conversation back to our team, ensuring that it informs our training and interactions moving forward. Together, we can create a flight experience that reflects the values we all hold dear." Chloe, Marcus, and Rebecca exchange glances, their hearts full. They've not only shared their message, but have also sparked a change within the very fabric of the airline industry. The journey they began with a moment of tension has transformed into an opportunity for growth and understanding. As the flight begins its descent into Heathrow Airport, a sense of camaraderie fills the cabin. Passengers who had previously been strangers now share a bond forged through vulnerability and openness. The atmosphere is charged with a palpable excitement, and as the plane glides toward the runway, everyone feels a collective sense of purpose and unity. Chloe, Marcus, and Rebecca sit together, reflecting on the powerful exchange that has taken